You see, sometimes life will pull something out of you that sounds like pain, but is really purpose in disguise. That groan you release in the midnight hour, that deep sound that comes not from your mouth, but from your spirit. It's not weakness. It's not defeat. It's the sound of transformation. When a woman is giving birth, she groans. That groan doesn't mean she's dying. It means something is coming forth. And I came to tell somebody tonight that your groan is not a signal of your failure. It's the announcement of your breakthrough. The groan is not pretty. It's not polished. It's not what we post on social media. The groan is that private sound, that unexplainable cry that escapes when you don't have the words. It's that noise that comes out when you've prayed every prayer, quoted every scripture, and still nothing seems to change. But what if I told you that the groan is necessary? That it's the evidence of something shifting inside of you? You can't see it yet, but the groan means something's moving in the unseen realm. You don't groan unless you're carrying something. The empty don't groan. The barren don't groan. Only those who are pregnant with purpose feel the pressure deep within. And the pain of that pressure isn't punishment. It's progress. Every groan is your spirit expanding, making room for what God is preparing to deliver through you. Some of you have been judging your groan as weakness, but in reality, it's your strength. You are groaning because you're growing. It's easy to praise when the promises are visible, but it's the groan that proves your faith. When you can still lift your hands while your heart is heavy, when you can still show up while your soul is weary, when you can still trust even when tears are streaming down your face, that's when heaven takes notice, because the groan is the language of those who refuse to quit. It's the sound of endurance. It's the melody of faith under fire. You've got to understand that transformation doesn't happen in silence. It happens in struggle. You can't give birth without pressure. You can't evolve without pain. And yet in that pain, in that hidden place of wrestling, something divine is being formed. The groan is God's tool to stretch you, to enlarge your capacity, to prepare you for glory. You think it's just a sound, but it's more than that. It's the proof that life is still in you. Because if you were finished, you wouldn't groan. Dead things don't groan. So when you feel that ache in your spirit, when you can't describe what you're feeling, but you know something's stirring, don't despise it. Don't silence. Let it flow. Let it flow. Because that groan is your soul's agreement with destiny. You may not even understand it, but your spirit does. Romans says that the Spirit makes intercession with groanings that cannot be uttered. That means sometimes you're praying without knowing you're praying. You're travailing for what your mouth can't articulate. And while you're groaning, heaven is translating. We live in a generation that runs from discomfort. But what if discomfort is the birthplace of destiny? What if the very thing you're trying to escape is the thing that's shaping you? There are seasons when God will not remove the pressure because the pressure is doing the work that comfort never could. The groan is molding you, refining you, stripping away everything that can't go with you to the next level. It's the sound of the old you dying and the new you emerging. Sometimes God will let you stay in a place where you have no words, just a groan, because that's when you're the most real. You can fake praise, you can fake smiles, you can fake confidence, but you can't fake a groan. That sound comes from truth. That sound comes from the deep places of surrender. It's when you've reached the end of yourself and you say, God, I don't even know what to say anymore, but you know. And that's when transformation begins. Because your groan invites His glory. The groan is not glamorous. It doesn't happen on stage. It happens in the dark, in the lonely hours, in the places no one sees. You groan while everyone else sleeps. You groan while others celebrate. You groan when it looks like you're losing. But in reality, you're birthing. You're birthing. Nah, every contraction of pain is pushing you closer to manifestation. You can't give up in the groaning stage because it's the last stage before delivery. The groan is the sound that comes before the glory. There are moments when you'll wonder if the groan will ever end. When you'll cry out, "O Lord, how long?" when the weight feels unbearable. But you must remember, the intensity of the groan always increases before the release. A woman in labor feels the most pain right before the baby arrives. So if your groan has gotten louder, if your tears have become heavier, if the warfare has intensified, don't panic. That's not the end. That's the sign that your glory is near. There's purpose in your pain. There's revelation in your groan. God uses the groan to separate you from what was and prepare you for what will be. You can't carry yesterday's identity into tomorrow's destiny. So He allows the groan to break you open. You may think you're breaking down, but really, you're breaking through. The groan is not your ending, it's your awakening. You might be groaning in your career, groaning in your marriage, groaning in your faith. But hear me, you are not alone in that place. Even creation groans, waiting for the manifestation of what God has planted. Everything that's alive groans before it grows. So if you're groaning, it means you're still in the fight. It means something in you refuses to die. And let me tell you something. There is no resurrection without a groan. Before the stone rolls away, before the grave clothes come off, before the light breaks through, there must first be a sound from the deep. That sound shakes the heavens. It gets God's attention. It declares, I'm still here, still believing, still holding on. You may be battered, but you're still birthing. You may be tired, but you're still pushing. Don't hide your groan. Don't be ashamed of your process. Too many people want the glory, but reject the groan. They want the crown, but not the cross, the promise, but not the pain. But you can't skip steps in destiny. The groan is the evidence that God is working something in you that can't be rushed. It's His way of stretching your spirit to handle the weight of what's coming. Because glory is heavy, and if He gave it to you too soon, it would crush you. So He strengthens you through the groan. If you're in that place right now, where you feel stretched, confused, uncertain, tired of waiting, I dare you to stop fighting the groan. Surrender to it. Let it do its work. Because one day soon, that groan will turn into glory. That pain will produce power. That pressure will birth purpose. And when you look back, you'll realize that the sound you once despised was the sound of your deliverance. So don't curse your groan. Don't despise your dark place. It's not punishment. It's preparation. You're not losing. It's labor. You're not breaking. It's birthing. Alrenma. And when it's all over, you'll see that the groan was never against you. It was always working for you. Because before every glory, there must first be a groan. Glory doesn't come through shortcuts. It doesn't come through skipping the process or running from the pain. Glory comes through perseverance in the process. It's easy to shout about the promise, but it's harder to stand when the process feels like it's tearing you apart. Everybody wants the crown, but not everybody wants the cross that comes before it. Everybody wants to walk in victory, but few want to stay through the valley that makes victory possible. But let me tell you something. Glory is not given to those who flee. It's revealed to those who endure. See, we live in a time where people want everything fast. They want overnight success, instant results, painless progress. But anything that grows fast dies fast. What's built in haste doesn't have roots deep enough to withstand the storm. The process is what gives you strength. The process is what prepares you to handle the weight of what you've been praying for. If God gave you the glory without the process, the very blessing would crush you. That's why He takes time. That's why He refines you. That's why He allows seasons that stretch your faith until you either break or believe. You can't pray for purpose and then run when pressure shows up. You can't ask God to enlarge your territory and then complain about the growing pains. Glory comes through perseverance, through staying when quitting seems easier, through trusting when you can't trace, through believing when all you see are ashes. Perseverance is not just holding on. It's holding on with expectation. It's saying, I don't know how or when, but I know who. When you persevere, you develop something the world can't give and hell can't take. You begin to trust the God of the process more than the timing of the outcome. You stop needing to see it to believe it. You start walking by faith and not by sight. And that's when you start maturing in your walk. Because glory doesn't rest on the untested. It rests on those who've been proven in the fire and didn't lose their faith. Think about the goldsmith. When he refines gold, he doesn't destroy it, he purifies it. He turns up the heat to burn off the impurities so the gold can shine brighter. That's what the process does for you. God allows the fire, not to kill you, but to reveal the real you. Because what's in you is stronger than what's against you, but it can only be revealed under pressure. You never know how strong your faith is until it's tested. You never know how deep your roots are until the storm hits. The process teaches you to trust God's silence. It teaches you to praise in uncertainty. It trains you to be steady when everything else is shaking. You see, perseverance isn't glamorous. It's not loud. It's not always public. It happens in the quiet, in the tears, in the moments you keep walking even when the path feels invisible. That's where strength is born, in the stillness of perseverance. And can I tell you something? Glory never feels glorious while you're in the process. It feels like pain. It feels like waiting. It feels like questions with no answers. But when you keep showing up, when you keep believing, when you keep forgiving, when you keep trying again after failure, something is happening in you that you can't see. Your perseverance is producing power. Your endurance is birthing elevation. You may not realize it, but the process is pruning you. It's cutting off what's not needed for the next level. Sometimes God will let people walk away, doors close, and opportunities disappear because they were never meant to carry you where you're going. And though it hurts, that pruning is proof that you're on your way to glory. Because the higher you go, the lighter you must travel. The process strips you of what can't survive the glory. Glory doesn't rest on the faint-hearted. It rests on the faithful. And faithfulness is proven not by how loud you shout on the mountain, but by how steadfast you stand in the valley. Some of the greatest things God will do in your life will come after the longest, after the darkest nights, after the hardest seasons. Perseverance is the bridge between the groan and the glory. Without it, the process remains incomplete. Don't despise the slow seasons. They are sacred. They are where roots grow deep. Everybody celebrates fruit, but roots are formed underground, unseen, unappreciated, unnoticed. Yet without them, the tree can't stand. That's what perseverance does. It builds roots. It stabilizes you so that when glory comes, you don't collapse under the weight. You're able to handle what you prayed for because you've been processed by what you survived. You can't get to glory by avoiding struggle. Even Jesus had to endure before he was exalted. Before the crown came the cross. Before resurrection came rejection. Before power came pain. It's the process that qualifies you for the promise. And if you quit in the middle, you'll never know what was waiting on the other side of your endurance. Sometimes God will intentionally delay manifestation just to develop your maturity. Because glory without character becomes destruction. If you can't handle waiting, you won't be able to handle winning. Perseverance builds spiritual muscles. It trains you to keep your eyes on the promise even when the path is unclear. And when you've gone through enough seasons like that, you stop panicking when storms come. You start recognizing them as part of the process. There's beauty in the grind. There's purpose in the pain. There's glory in the perseverance. You may not see it right now, but the struggle you're in is shaping the strength you'll need later. Every tear you've cried, every battle you fought, every time you showed up broken but still faithful, it's all being counted. Heaven keeps record of perseverance. Glory always comes after endurance, never before. You can't microwave destiny. You can't rush refinement. You can't demand glory without process. If you try to escape the refining fire, you'll emerge half-formed, fragile, and unready. But if you endure it, if you stay faithful in the fire, you'll come out shining like gold. You'll come out stronger, wiser, and more anchored than ever before. Don't confuse delay with denial. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. Sometimes God is not saying a no. He's saying a not yet. He's still working in you what he needs to work through you. The glory isn't being withheld. It's being prepared. And the preparation always takes longer than the presentation. When you finally step into it, it'll make sense why it took so long. There's something powerful about people who don't quit. The enemy doesn't know what to do with someone who keeps getting back up. When you persevere, you're declaring that you refuse to let pain have the last word. You're declaring that your hope is stronger than your hurt. Perseverance is not passive. It's powerful. It's active faith. It's movement even when the path is covered in fog. Sometimes you won't feel spiritual while persevering. You won't always feel strong or inspired. You might cry, you might doubt, you might stumble. But the key is, don't stop. Keep pressing, keep believing. Because perseverance is not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about staying when your emotions tell you to run. And one day, after all the nights of wandering, after all the prayers that seemed unanswered, after all the battles that made you question your purpose, you'll wake up and realize the glory is here. The thing you prayed for, cried for, it's standing in front of you. And you'll understand that the process wasn't punishment. It was preparation. The pain wasn't wasted. It was working. The waiting wasn't empty. It was essential. Glory doesn't come to those who run from the storm, but to those who walk through it with faith. It doesn't come to those who quit under pressure, but to those who let pressure produce perseverance. And when it's all said and done, when you look back on everything you've endured, you'll see that every groan, every tear, every test was necessary to bring you to this moment of glory. Because glory only comes through those who persevere in the process.